Services and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings, thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get one half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney locations. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town. MWR, a local company of Lincoln, is proud to announce they are able to offer their own post-frame building packages in metal to anyone desiring a building, whether you're a contractor or a DIYer. They can install your building as always, and they offer multiple different rib profiles and loads of color options, including the wood grain metal at great competitive prices. You can inquire at mwrbuildingandfence.com or just draw your desired building and submit it in their contact us page and they'll get back to you. Call MWR today at 402-540-8966.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
And electrical.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep the clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex on West O Street, online at doubleeagle.golf.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome in. Nick Whyman, Ticket Weeknights, here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com with you until the top of the hour. We will also have Beyond the Lanes with Desiree and Haley coming up after that, alongside with Chris Raff on Raff's Good Take on Sports. Don't Punt Hour, DeMornay Pearsonell from 10 to 11, and then Late Night Lincoln with myself to wrap up the evening. So a nice little Monday night here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or on Allo Channel 961. We'd love to hear you join the conversation. If you're watching on all those platforms, feel free to leave your comments, questions, or concerns. Leave it right there. Or hit us with the Sartor Heyman Jewelers text line at 402-464-5685. That is 402-464-5685. So we are coming off a loaded weekend of sports, not only here in Nebraska, here in the capital city of Lincoln, but in general. I wanted the Winter Olympics just kind of wrapped up. We wanted to give a couple shout outs to that. A lot of really cool stories come out of the Olympics. You hear about names that you become household names over the course of a 2.5 week period. And the United States did that in several ways. But most importantly, they did that in hockey, I would say. Hockey's the main sport come Winter Olympic time. Just because of, not only that, with what the United States women's hockey team with Layla Edwards, Hillary Knight, and company have done, but to do it in such a dominant fashion throughout preliminary round, the United States women's hockey team made it all the way to the gold medal to face Canada, who they beat early in the tournament 5-0, which was one of the worst losses in Canadian women's hockey history, to go in that nature and go into overtime, and Megan Keller with the game-winning goal to give United States the gold medal. that happened on Friday last week. That's a while ago. That's a couple days ago. However, there was a hockey game on Sunday. If you haven't heard or haven't seen, it was worth the watch. I know a lot of people talked about the time zone difference. There's time zones. Unfortunately, the world doesn't revolve around where you live. 7 a.m. was puck drop for the United States-Canada men's hockey game for the gold medal. This is what everybody kind of wanted to see. You saw it last year, NHL All-Star game. They didn't have one last year. They did a series where United States ended up playing Canada in the final, and Canada got the last laugh in that one. And what also added to this gold medal was this was the first hockey in the Olympics that was allowed to have the NHL players compete since 2014 when the games were in Sochi. And now you have what you saw here was the United States team. I would say an underdog. I wouldn't say it was a miracle on ice for sure. I mean, miracle on ice obviously wasn't a gold medal match, but that was on the same day 46 years ago on February 23rd or 22nd, excuse me. And then you go to February 22nd of yesterday, United States and Canada, kind of a new chapter in United States hockey. These players, Austin Matthews, and you mentioned them all. A lot of these guys grew up watching the 2010 team that came up short in Vancouver. 2014 with TJ Oshie making all those penalty shots to keep the United States alive through their run in that Olympics. And then 2 Olympics happened where there's no NHL players in it. And then you have what you saw on Sunday. You have the United States and Canada facing off for the gold. This was 7 o'clock in the morning. It's kind of crazy. I think that was the start time. Yet I think everywhere on social media, this is all you heard about was this match because it was the only sporting event going on. There was obviously like English Premier League soccer and whatnot going on, but this was the conclusion of the Olympics. This was the final thing before the closing ceremonies. And I mean, USA scores early. Matt Goldie scores to put the United States up in the first period. And from that, United States did get outshot majority of that time during this rivalry game. And Canada had all the momentum. Canada was knocking on the door so many times throughout. But they were able to just hold their own and keep them off the board. 1-0 lead for the United States. It felt like the United States had to just play defense and keep Canada off the board, but Canada has some of the most, Sidney Crosby was questionable to play. He played. You had Connor McDavid. You had Cale Makar. You had so many good scorers you see in the NHL on Canada's line that it was like at some point this Canadian team should be able to get back and get on the board. And they did. They finally scored and put not of the match at 1-1. And then it felt like throughout there was a point too where United States was down 5-3 on a power play. I'm not the biggest hockey guy, but I will watch the Stanley Cup playoffs because the Stanley Cup playoffs are legit. Lincoln Stars hockey is, those guys are tough. Those are tough guys. And they put on, what they do out there is one of the toughest sports to play, not only mentally, but also physically. And they go out there and USA is down 5-3. Canada's knocking on the door. And they were able to fend it off in that power play and keep the game tied at 1 apiece. Edge of your seat stuff material. You don't have to be a hockey fan to know, 5-on-3. Canada's got a pretty good advantage here. They have some of the best scorers in hockey out there representing their country. And the United States was able to fend it off and keep it tied. They were outshot at one point almost by 20-plus shot attempts. So it felt like at some point Canada's going to just take the lead and win from there. Connor Hellebuck in the goal, his Winnipeg Jets goalkeeper. That was a game of his life so far. He's saving goals. There's a picture floating around social media where it's literally like within inches of scoring a goal, and he's able to save it with his stick at the goal and keep the game tied at 1 apiece. So then you go to overtime. I know there's a lot of question. They play 3v3 overtime. Usually, it's 5v5 when you get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. 3v3. Some people aren't a fan of that. I mean, it's a little different because obviously you take two players off the ice and it's kind of like a mini game in a sense, but Canada's got three of the best scorers in hockey out there, and it's 1-1. And the United States got some talented players too. But it comes down to it's golden goal. Next score wins. You couldn't have asked for a better chance. This is now around 10 o'clock Eastern time, I would say, is when this is happening. If you didn't watch the entire match, you could have just tuned in for the final period and still been on the edge of your seat because you could feel it. The audience was great. It's a national broadcasted game. Hockey obviously takes a little bit of a backseat to football, basketball, and baseball around some parts of the United States, but this is a big deal. This is a gold medal. These guys have been working this hard to get to this point. Jack Hughes, we'll get to him in a second. He lost a tooth in this game. But you go to overtime. Game is within reach either way. Next goal takes home the gold. And the United States get a little bit of a break, a little kind of a 3-on-1. Assist goes down, give it to Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes puts in the back of the net. Buzzer sounds. Kenny Albert on the call was electric. I mean, he not only did he have this one, he had the women's gold medal 2 days prior, called that one as well. So he was on a roll. It was also commercial free. If you, it was basically the periods throughout the 20-minute periods. They took no commercials. There were no ads plastered everywhere. It was like just all about the game and guys playing for their country. So, I mean, Connor Hellebuck, he had the game of his life. Jack Hughes scores that goal, the golden goal, to give the United States a gold medal. First one since that 1980 gold medal. So it's been a while. I mean, United States won World Cup of Hockey in 1996 against Canada. That was the last time they beat Canada in a tournament of this nature. But 1980, 46 years ago, to the same date as the Miracle on Ice happened. Obviously, the Miracle on Ice was not. I know there's a lot of people talk about it and like, oh, that was not a gold medal match against in the Miracle on Ice. That was a semifinal match before the United States then went on to win gold. But this it is not the Miracle on Ice just because Canada and USA are top two teams. It wasn't an upset. I mean, was Canada probably the team to beat coming into the tournament? Probably, because it is what it is. But it was them just holding on, and the United States was able to score early, grab momentum, but Canada gave right back. And it wasn't a Miracle on Ice, but it was a spectacle to watch, and you could see the celebration. Obviously, you could see it how much it meant for these guys. These guys face off on the daily in the NHL, come together for their country, and here they are, and winning gold together. It not only meant more for these guys, these players, these coaches, to win this, but you also had Johnny Gaudreau was the story of this team. Throughout the tournament, you saw them bring around Johnny Gaudreau's jersey. If you don't know, played for Columbus late in his career, died in an accident with his brother. That was a huge loss for the hockey community. Active player, a friend, family member, teammate, whatnot. Community, big part of the community, and there was a lot of outpouring for him when he played. He played in Calgary as well. There was a lot for Johnny Gaudreau and his brother. So throughout the tournament, the number 13 Johnny Gaudreau jersey locker in the United States locker room was throughout this, because Johnny Gaudreau would have had a really good chance of playing on this Team USA team during this Olympics. And you could tell how much he meant not only for the team, but for the team. His family was there as well. There was a really cool moment during the medal ceremony and everything before that all went down. They brought out his kids onto the ice. His family was there. They brought him out and they brought them on the ice, took photos with them. Not a dry eye in the crowd for that group, because how much Johnny Gaudreau meant to the NHL players in general, but also he would have been probably playing in this game. So to see him go down, Not only there's a little bit of a link, Nebraska tie-in. So Omaha native Jack Gunsel plays for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He was a member of the Team USA team. He played over 15 minutes in this game against Canada for the gold medal. He was a part of the team and wins a gold medal. So Omaha native, graduated from UNO, played hockey there, the Mavericks. So there's a little bit of a Omaha, Nebraska tie-in to this Olympic gold medal. So those are the stories you live for, and those are the stories you want to see. Not only there's the local tie-in here in Nebraska, but there's also, the United States history on their side. They haven't beat Canada in a tournament in so long. They haven't won gold in the Olympics since 1980. And 46 years later, to the date of the Miracle on Ice that happened, not a gold medal match, they bring home the gold and beat Canada in one of the more exciting hockey games. I mean, obviously, there's been some Stanley Cup playoffs that are very exciting and down to the wire, and those marathon matches are exciting. But for the United States to win in that nature, Quinn Hughes, his brother, also on the team, helped the United States survive and advance with an overtime goal as well. So you have that family connection with the Hugheses, who are going to be intertwined with the United States Olympic hockey for the rest of the time. TJ Oshie in 2014, Soshi Oshie, he was the penalty shootout guy who stepped up and made a name for himself there, Olympic hockey legend because of that, of what he did for the United States. Now you have so many guys on this team now. They start up, the NHL had an Olympic break, obviously, for these guys to prepare and get out there to make the trip to Milan Cortina for the 2026 Winter Olympics. They now are getting back into it. Wednesday, the first games for the second half of the NHL season begin. So it's crazy how fast it goes around. Some of these guys just played Sunday. They'll have 2 days off, get back in a routine, back to their NHL teams, and they're right back out there on the ice. It's wild. I'm hoping, I will admit, I'm not the biggest hockey fan, but when there's stuff like this and there's, Lincoln Stars winning the Clark Cup and stuff like that and competing at a high level, I will totally watch it. Stanley Cup, if you never watched the Stanley Cups, playoffs, the final and whatnot, even the last couple of years have been really good with Edmonton and Florida. Connor McDavid also competing in that one for the Edmonton Oilers. Playoff hockey is so much different than a lot of other playoffs just because of you could be a lower seed and just get hot right there. I remember a couple of years ago when Las Vegas, the Vegas Golden Knights were first a franchise. They were an expansion team. They made the Stanley Cup in their first year. They had Marc-Andre Fleury, goalkeeper, and they were able to make it all the way to the championship expansion team. You don't really see that in a lot of sports. And the Stanley Cup, if you've never checked it out, they'll be starting around April. Usually when the NBA playoffs are starting, they usually intertwine with one another. It's a spectacle to watch. So if that was your first introduction to what hockey is like and watching it on TV, it was must-see TV. And they've shown replays of it last night after the local news. They showed it in its entirety on another network. It was worth watching. And if you could go back and watch the highlights, I would strongly advise it because it was fun. It was a very fun match. You didn't have to know a lot about hockey to get involved. It's obviously USA, Canada. That's kind of the Red Sox, Yankees, Michigan, Ohio State, Lakers, Celtics of hockey. If we're national hockey, and it was fun. Some people, obviously, the Olympics aren't for everybody, and that's their opinion, but if you could go down and watch this hockey match one time, it's totally worth it. And it was, commercial free throughout the periods. It flowed really well. There's a lot of dramatic moments throughout. There's like one goal could have changed it. Well, in overtime, Canada had a wide open shot pretty much. And Makar, 99 out of 100 times probably makes that shot. But he didn't at that time. And it was just a spectacle in itself. And that's just how United States capped off the Winter Olympics, not only with the men's hockey team winning, but the women's team as well, who also made history. Hillary Knight played her final game for the United States. It was awesome. And if you like any other winter sports, curling was there. Curling was fun. Lindsey Vonn obviously was a story in itself. There were a lot of different storylines. I'm missing some because every sport has a different storyline in that 2.5 week gap. We'll do it again in 2028 when it's in Los Angeles, LA, 2028. It'll be here in no time because every 2 years we get the Olympics, summer, winter alternating. That'll be a fun time because it'll be right in our backyard. I mean, obviously Los Angeles is a little far from Lincoln, but it'll be the same, time zone, not very big difference. You'll be able to watch track, swimming, basketball, and whatnot throughout the rest of the day. So I'm excited for that. It should be a really fun time. Olympic qualifiers for that already start up, I believe, this summer and the next summer. It'll be a fun time when that is in the United States of America for the next Winter Olympic cycle, or the Summer Olympics, in 2028. So that's a bow on the Olympics. We'll obviously talk about a little bit more at Late Night in Lincoln if you want to talk more about the hockey, the United States getting over the edge against Canada. First gold medal since 1980. We'll talk a little bit more about that and the history behind why it's so historic and why it was so many eyeballs were glued to the TV during that gold medal match. When we come back, we'll kind of talk a little about college basketball. The Nebraska men got back in the win column. The women got a much needed win on the road in the Pacific Northwest after a deflating loss to Oregon after leading by double digits prior to that game against the Washington Huskies. And then college basketball is obviously a big game coming up tonight. Kansas, who lost to Cincinnati in a shocking loss, are playing Houston. That is a big one and a marquee game. And Darren Peterson is the talk of college basketball for many reasons. We don't really know, but for many reasons. So we'll be back. Ticket Weeknights. Nick Whyman here, 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. We'll be right back after this break.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top-quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Nutrition Authority invites you to check out the top-selling Epic Effects. Epic Effects is designed to help blast body fat, curb cravings, and provide smooth energy so you can cruise through the day. Home of free samples and better than internet pricing, Epic Effects can only be found in Nutrition Authority. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Things that impair you come in many different shapes and sizes. Some are the shape of beer and liquor bottles. Others look like cigarettes but aren't cigarettes at all. These are the things we know impair us, the things our parents warned us about. What we're not always aware of is our new prescription, or the over-the-counter medicine we picked up just for allergies or a bad cold. See, it doesn't just matter how much of a substance you take. If you are impaired, driving is deceptively dangerous. Don't drive impaired. Paid for by the NDOT Highway Safety Office.
Good morning, Breakers. This is Scott Miller from Midwest Bank. When I recently joined Midwest Bank, I was immediately impressed by our exceptional service. My first customer made the switch from a large corporate bank and didn't have to wait in line or call a 1-800 number. We treated him like family. He now visits the bank just to say hello. While other banks go corporate, we stay Nebraska. Visit us at midwest.bank or drop by a branch today. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
A lot of businesses say they're family focused, but when tough situations in life arise, the business wants anything but your best interests. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring, and they will always treat their employees like family, just as they do their customers. James Enterprise Incorporated is hiring Class A and B CDL drivers, a shop tech, and a diesel mechanic. If you're looking for a career with a company that goes above and beyond to value you and your family, apply today at jamesenterpriseinc.com or call 402-432-6740.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
A lot of people in the summertime think, gee, I want to build a new home. By the time they go through the process of sitting down, getting the permits, and getting the home started, the home isn't done until January or February.
Bob Benish is the founder and president of Aspen Builders, online at aspenbuildersinc.com.
I think the best time to start designing your new home is the month of February. get an early start on it. Sit down, the snow's flying. Let's sit around the table. Let's drop some plans. When we're looking out for a homeowner, we're always keeping their budget in mind. Let's put numbers together and let's get that thing started so that the home's done in summer or fall before school starts. So now is really the time to be contacting us to get an appointment to get the job done.
Make your dream a reality and call Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at aspenbuildersinc.com. Your dream home is waiting at Aspen Builders.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, Ticket Weeknights. Nick Whyman here at 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Rocking with you till the top of the hour before we have Beyond the Lanes with Desiree and Haley coming in. They're coming off the Big Red Invite, which was this past weekend, Nebraska women's bowling, and a pretty successful weekend down at Hollywood Bowl. We'll talk a lot about that within the next hour as they are, removed less than 24 hours when that tournament happened. They competed against some of the best teams in college bowling, and we'll get into what their thoughts on their performance at the Big Red Invite, which was a hit, I would say. Despite a snowstorm delaying start time on Friday, it was supposed to start at 9 o'clock, got moved to 11 o'clock, was still able to get all the teams in to Lincoln despite the snow. I don't know how many inches we got, but they were able to get everybody in on time and get everybody playing. And the tournament went well, successful, Big Red Invite. If you didn't make it out there, obviously the weather on that Friday was bad, but Saturday, Sunday, it sounded like there was a big crowd there as well to support Nebraska bowling as they had a successful weekend. We'll get more into that as the top of the hour will be on the lanes. If you stick with us here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com, or if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or on Allo Channel 961, you'll see Haley and Desiree here within the next 30-ish minutes. So keep it tuned right here. Also, you're with me for the next 30 minutes here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Sorry, Heyman Jewelers text line 402-464-5685. That is 402-464-5685. We've just gone wrapping up the Olympics and what transpired in that gold medal hockey match between the United States and Canada was one to watch. It was worth the waking up for. I was afraid waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning that, maybe, if it's like 5-0 or something like that or a blowout, maybe it wasn't worth waking up for. But it was worth it. All 3 hours, 3.5 hours, however long it was totally worth watching that match. So let's shift gears back to basketball, Nebraska basketball, the men's basketball team getting back in the win column after a loss to Iowa that was a low-scoring affair. It was a dogfight, rock fight, whatever you want to call it, 57-52 to Iowa. Obviously, Nebraska's worst loss, I would say in quotations, because Iowa's not a bad team. Were they pretty? No. But they are, they're going to make the tournament. Nebraska's lost to Illinois, Purdue, Michigan, all ranked in the top 15. And then Iowa, who is going to be around the 7, 8, 9 mark, and maybe better, depending on how the last couple games of their season goes. They have opportunities with Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Michigan the rest of the way. So Iowa, a solid team. Nebraska sitting now with a record of 23-4, 12-4 in Big Ten play. They move on. The clock moves forward. They move on and play Penn State on Saturday, and an 87-64 win, and it was pretty dominant from the get-go. Nebraska, Price Sanford obviously hitting, he was on fire from three. 33 points for him, just to dominate from the start. 8 of 14 from three. He was one away from breaking the single-game record for three-pointers made at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. That would have been, they were up by a lot. He only played 25 minutes. Maybe you leave him in to get that one more three, but he did start cold in the second half. He was on fire in the first half. It was a spectacle to see him when he's hitting threes. Nebraska's a deadly team. They are tough to beat. And he 33 points. He was more than 15 with Braden Frager was second most. And then Sam Hoiberg with 11, and nobody else really reached double figures. Didn't really need to when Price was scoring. At one point, Price had the same amount of points as Penn State. At one point, I think Penn State at halftime had 20, and Price also had 20. So When one player's outscoring the entire team of the opposition, things are going well, more than likely, unless that's the one guy scoring. But to Nebraska's credit, that was not the case. It was 38-20 at halftime. Nebraska, there was a little bit of a lull in the second half during this game against Penn State. They were up by 20 plus, and then Penn State was able to kind of chip away, but the deficit was too much to come back from. Nebraska ended up winning 87-64. My biggest takeaway from this game, obviously, Jamarcus Lawrence going down late in that one. It gave me Braden Frager flashbacks to that game when they played when he went down. And, it's day by day. Nebraska's got a couple days here to get ready. Maybe it's just, leg injuries are weird in basketball. You never know. It could be, just sprained it or whatever, whatnot, landed wrong and landed funky and it's a little sore for a couple days, or it could be something serious. It doesn't sound like it's super serious, but I'm not a doctor. Never will be. But it sounds like Jamarcus Lawrence should be okay, but his timetable for return will be to be determined. Sounds like game time decision potentially on Wednesday when they play Maryland. Along with that, I think the depth of Nebraska, a lot of people talking about not only, turnovers. Nebraska has been a little different the last couple of weeks. They made a couple errors with turnovers against Northwestern, came out a little sloppy in that game. But outside of that, turnovers, rebounding, it's easy to point at rebounding when you're losing. Because if you're not rebounding the ball, obviously, you're probably not winning the game. And they lost the rebounding battle against teams like Michigan, like Purdue, obviously, with Oscar Clough there. But we're able to stay in it. The third thing is depth. Nebraska's been kind of running a 7-man rotation for the past couple of weeks and haven't had a chance to really throw in guys like Leo Curtis, who we've seen, and Jared Garcia. We'll start with Jared Garcia. Jared Garcia, he was playing off the bench for a majority of the first, November, December, and early January, I'll say. And he was doing his thing, Played 19 minutes on Saturday, scored 4 points, only took 2 shots, 50% from the floor, missed the 1 3-point shot he took. But the biggest takeaway, I would say, is his rebounding. He was second on the team in rebounding during that 20 minutes he played. 7 rebounds. The only one who had more rebounds than him was Price, who had 9. Jared Garcia, this is the best he's looked since Illinois. Not the Illinois home game, but the Illinois game in Champaign. So if Jared Garcia can, log 15-plus minutes and get a couple layups, get a couple shots, knock down a couple shots when he comes off the bench and rebound like that and be a physical player on the boards, that's at a huge level to Nebraska. And it's probably the best he's looked since that Illinois game, which was months ago. And he finally kind of got in. I was surprised we didn't see him or Leo Curtis during that Iowa game just because things were kind of, it was a funky game where maybe you throw in a Jared Garcia and he can get it down there and get a put-back layup or something like that, get the ball in the paint and just throw it up and it goes in. Because Nebraska's offense couldn't get going. They only shot 21% from 3 that game. But that wasn't a question against Penn State. Nebraska's offense was really good against Penn State, shooting 40% from the 3-point line and 52% from the floor as a group. Leo Curtis is the other guy. Leo Curtis, he's a freshman, so you think, okay, throwing him out there in a big game, maybe the moment's too big. But he did get that in Ann Arbor, for obvious reasons. Frank Mass was sick during that game, could not play, and then Braden Frager was coming off that injury. Nebraska didn't want to rush Frager back, so they go into a game undefeated in Ann Arbor, and you get Leo Curtis out there. It's like, okay, let's see what you do. Let's see what you can do, Leo. 10 minutes in this game, 2 points. That game he had about 6 points. He had 6 points in that game against Michigan. And in that game, I mean, he didn't look like he belonged. Big, tall guy, get out there and play some defense and do what you can. I mean, he did take a 3-point shot in this game against Penn State. 0-1 shooting. Didn't get any rebounds despite his height. Got an assist and 2 turnovers. So there were the things you could clean up, yes. But just getting him on the floor, I think, is in a meaningful minutes. Because was the game put away at that point against Penn State? No. But he did log 10 minutes. It wasn't just, 60 seconds left in the game, let's throw you out there while both teams subbed starters out. He actually got some meaningful minutes and took advantage of it. Because he's a guy where if Nebraska can build some depth, he's probably the guy. True freshman, he's probably going to be a big contributor in a couple of years if he sticks around and Nebraska graduates some guys. Throw him out there. You already got a center in yourself. And you got a guy who's played in Big Ten games, meaningful minutes in the Big Ten Conference, which is, if you look at the standings, it is a pretty good basketball conference, if you didn't know by now. So Nebraska 23-4, turning the page to Maryland. Nebraska 12-4 in Big Ten play. These games are important. Nebraska is trying to avoid being upset by the rest of the teams, but Maryland is probably the most would be a concerning loss. 11-16, 4-12 in Big Ten play. They are in the bottom four alongside Northwestern, Oregon, and Penn State in the Big Ten Conference. Maryland, get Buzz Williams. That's the guy Nebraska faced him when he was at Texas A&M head coach during the NCAA tournament a couple of years ago. Now he's at Maryland, and things haven't been too great. He has won 3 of their last 5 games. They beat Minnesota at the barn 67-62. They beat Iowa 77-70. But then the Terrapins lost to Rutgers by 11, lost at Northwestern by 4, and most recently beat Washington 64-60. So Maryland's won 3 conference games. 3 of their 4 conference games have come in the past 2 weeks. So, this was a team that was on a 4-game skid with losses to Illinois, Michigan State, and Purdue, where they were completely one-sided losses. And then you also throw in Ohio State in there. They lost to 3 quality teams. But they've won 3 of their last 4. And they beat a team like Iowa and Minnesota, who gave Nebraska fits. And then they beat Washington, who's another Big Ten team. But they did lose to Rutgers and Northwestern in pretty narrow ball games. And Maryland at this point is just trying to get out of the bunker of the Big Ten Conference, because they are down there with 4-12. Right behind them is Northwestern and Oregon at 3-13. And then, as mentioned, Penn State 2-15. So they are just trying to put themselves in better position to make the Big Ten tournament and give themselves a shot to try to make a run in said tournament. So there is a lot on the ground there for Maryland. And Nebraska is trying to avoid, because this would be the game where Nebraska has to try to avoid being upset, because the rest of the schedule, you got USC, who is a solid West Coast Big Ten team. UCLA obviously had the win over Illinois over the weekend in a crazy weekend of college basketball, as Dent went coast to coast for UCLA, layup at the buzzer in overtime to upset the Fighting Illini, which Illinois at the time, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were the hottest team in the sport. Since then, they've lost to Michigan State, just lost to UCLA. It's crazy how that works. And then Nebraska closed out regular season play against Iowa in a much anticipated rematch. Nebraska, a revenge game now, in a sense, after the Hawkeyes got the win in Iowa City last week. That game coming up on March 8th to close out regular season play before the Big Ten tournament, which will be approaching quick. And it should be a fun one, because you have a conference stacked with top 15 teams. At the moment right now, Nebraska is in there. Michigan, Illinois, Purdue, Michigan State are your ranked teams hanging around there in the cream of the crop of the conference. It'll be a dogfight to see, because Nebraska still tried to get the 2 seed in the conference, maybe the 3, maybe the 4. You want to put yourself in that triple bye situation, because Michigan's more than likely going to be there. But teams like Illinois, Nebraska, Purdue, and Michigan State are going to be fighting for those other spots to get the triple bye, because there's so many teams in the Big Ten. Crazy how that works. Before we go to break, I want to talk about Nebraska women's basketball. They were on a skid of games where they were losing games to quality teams like an Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Minnesota. They lost to them as well in that stretch. Just looking to find a way to grab some momentum as the regular season closes. As it looked like on Thursday night when they lost to Oregon up 12, and somehow lost 80-76. Just went on a scoring drought and couldn't put the ball in the basket, and a drought happened. And against Washington, it maybe looked like that was going to happen again. Ball in your hands, down 2 with under 15 seconds to play. If you miss this shot, you're kind of in the same situation when you're playing Michigan State and Wisconsin early in the year too in a loss. Are you going to end up on? Are they going to end up on another end of a loss like this? It kind of felt like I deja vu for Nebraska women's basketball fans, Nebraska fans in general, coming down to the stretch. Can they make a bucket? Can they get out of there with a win? Britt Prince, Nebraska's star player, takes a shot at the top of the key, knocks it down in somebody's face to give Nebraska a 66-65 lead. Washington had a chance to gather the lead with seconds to go, had a couple good looks at the basket with under 5 seconds to play. I think they had 3 looks down the stretch. Nebraska avoids seeing that ball go through the rim. Nebraska holds on for a 66-65 win over the Huskies. Nebraska now 17-11 on the season, 6-11 in Big Ten play. They have one more game left on the schedule. They will also play Saturday, but this one at home. Nebraska senior day for Nebraska women's basketball. They will play Rutgers on February 28th at 1 o'clock Central Time down at Pinnacle Bank Arena. One more final time for Nebraska women's basketball before they head into the Big Ten tournament, which should be, Nebraska right now, not sitting comfortably in the Big Ten tournament because of how the seeding works. They'll probably have to play in the first round. As of right now, they'd probably have to play Wisconsin, which would be a rematch from earlier this year where the Badgers got the last laugh. And then more than likely from there, you're going to have to play. The Big Ten Women's Basketball Conference is no joke this year. You got UCLA, Iowa, Michigan State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Maryland, who are all near the top 25 or above. And that's 6 teams right there. And some of those teams, 5 and 6, have to play in the second round of the tournament. So there's a lot of competition there. Nebraska, a team is the record standout 17-11? No, but if you get a win against Rutgers and you get a couple wins there in the Big Ten Women's Basketball Tournament, it really set yourself up for a chance to boost your resume right before Selection Sunday nears. If you put yourself in that situation, you beat a team, hypothetically, you beat a team like Ohio State or Michigan State in that round of the tournament and then get to go play a team like UCLA or Iowa. Who knows what can happen? We've seen teams who make runs in their conference tournaments who probably shouldn't, but they do because teams get days of rest off, and then there's teams who somehow find a way when they're playing 3 or 4 days in a row. They find a groove where they're playing just rhythm. You just find a rhythm when you play, 4 days in a row. We saw with NC State and men's basketball a couple years ago, DJ Burns and company. That team had to play 5 days in a row, and they just had a groove to them. They just had a groove. And sometimes teams, you don't play until the weekend draws. They don't play for about 4 days, 5 days, and throws it off. And they come out cold, come out on a little cold stretch. So it'll be an interesting time as basketball. March is almost here. It's crazy to think that March is almost here. But we're going to take a break. We're going to be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket. As if you're listening on the dial, you will get Kansas and Houston, which is coming up. Before we talk a little bit about that. There's 2 ranked games going on in college basketball. North Carolina, Louisville are playing right now. North Carolina holding a 66-54 lead. The 18 Tar Heels leading over the 24 seed Cardinals. There's a top 15 match tonight. Kansas, who lost to Cincinnati 2 days ago, number 14 in the nation, 20-7, are playing number 5. Houston's lost back-to-back games. They have not lost 3 consecutive games since the late 2010s. Kansas, Bill Self is undefeated on Mondays. 41-0. 41-0 on Mondays. That'll be the talk. That starts at 8 o'clock. Here in a couple of minutes, we'll have coverage there as well. But if you're listening, you can listen on Facebook, X, YouTube, or Allo Channel 961. We will have you covered till midnight, as always. But when that game signs off, we'll be Don't Punt Hour, DeBornay Pearson L. And then myself, Late Night in Lincoln with Nick Whyman to close out the evening. So a lot going on here at 93.7 The Ticket. That'll be coming up in a matter of moments. We're going to close out the show here before Beyond the Lanes with Desiree and Haley. Nebraska Bowling comes up soon here on The Ticket. We'll be right back. Ticket Weekends with Nick Whyman.
Good morning, Breakers. This is Scott Miller from Midwest Bank. When I recently joined Midwest Bank, I was immediately impressed by our exceptional service. My first customer made the switch from a large corporate bank and didn't have to wait in line or call a 1-800 number. We treated him like family. He now visits the bank just to say hello. While other banks go corporate, we stay Nebraska. Visit us at midwest.bank or drop by a branch today. Your community, your bank. Midwest Bank. Member FDIC.
Big value and big flavor meet at Wings and Rings thanks to the all-new delicious Duo Combo. This is the one you've been waiting for. Get 1 half-sized appetizer and 2 entrees with a side for only $19.99. Bring a friend for the best deal in town on any day of the week, during game time, or whenever the heck you want. Their made-to-order wings and chicken sandwiches are waiting for you at their 68th and O and 40th and Old Cheney location. Stop by Wings and Rings and celebrate every day with the best meal deal in town.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At Raising Cane's, we focus on making the most craveable chicken finger meals, getting them right every time. That's why we hand batter every chicken finger, mix every cane sauce, butter every Texas toast, stir every slaw, salt every fry, squeeze every lemon, and brew every ounce. We do this inside every Raising Cane's, every day, because when you do it right, you can taste it in every bite. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
Empire Netting and Fence delivers top quality netting and fence solutions. From major sports venues to backyard installs and everything in between, coast to coast. We take on tough jobs with grit, integrity, and a strong commitment to safety. Empire is growing, and we're hiring motivated people ready to grow with us. We build each other up, and we're building something big. Think you've got what it takes? Apply now at empire-fence.com. That's empire-fence.com.
Nutrition Authority presents Fusion 30, an ultra premium protein ideal for anyone wanting to look, feel, and perform their best. Fusion 30 can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in today for a free sample, visit with a certified nutritionist, and get better than internet pricing. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service, bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket immediately after every Nebraska men's basketball game for 1 hour of post-game recap. The Nebraska Basketball Postgame Show is sponsored by Union Bank and Trust, John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electrical, Jack Russell of Farm Bureau Financial Services, and the Lincoln Airport on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit ostreetcarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
In every office, there's two types of people. There are those who bring in bagels and those who eat the bagels that someone else brought in. Everybody likes the first person. Be that first person. Weekday mornings at 7:30, you have a chance to win a business box of bagels from Bagels & Joe. All you have to do is shut up, Sipple. 2 questions for you, 2 for Sip. Win, and the bagels are yours. Lose, well, you don't want to lose.
You lost Monday, you lost Wednesday, you're a loser.
Shut up, Sipple. Weekday mornings at 7:30, brought to you by Bagels & Joe.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play it against sports at 48th and Vine.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Back Nine Golf in South Lincoln is the premier indoor golf experience in the state. The weather in the winter months is cold, windy, and as unpredictable as a tee shot on the 450-yard par 4. With top-of-the-line full-swing simulators and a PGA teaching professional, Back Nine Golf is there to help you improve your game and lower your score. Back Nine Golf is open to the public with 24/7 access for members. Learn about Back Nine's variety of memberships today and see the facility for yourself at 7501 South 15th Street in Lincoln, just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Back Nine Golf, your premier indoor golf and events destination.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Ticket Weeknights. Nick Whyman here. We're with you for a couple more minutes before we hand it off to Beyond the Lanes with Haley and Desiree, as they are coming off one of their biggest events of the regular season, as the Big Red Bowling Invite just wrapped up yesterday. We'll talk about that one, as that was a really good event. You know, facing not only Nebraska there as a top tier program, but you also get teams like Jack State, Vanderbilt, Sam Houston State. So many ranked teams were at this event. You know, you hear from my point of view, but I'd like to hear from their point of view, because they were able to be in that environment and be able to just embrace it and have Nebraska behind them and have that kind of a fan base behind them as well. So there should be there was a nice crowd, but there should be it should be interesting to hear from their perspective about what not only their accomplishments there while competing, but also what it was like to see not only Nebraska fans turn up, but also family members. Because I think they talked about last couple of weeks when we were here with them. I'm lucky, a privilege to be with them every Monday night here from 8 to 9 o'clock. You get to hear just what it means for them to have their families there and have them come support them and embrace what it's all about, because there is a community here for bowling, and they clearly have one at Nebraska. So that'll be at the top of the hour. Before we get out of here for this hour, I wanted to talk about these two ranked top 25 matches we have tonight. So an update on that North Carolina, number 18 in the nation, beating Louisville right now with under 2.5 minutes to play. Louisville, number 24, North Carolina holding a 72-64 lead over the Louisville Cardinals. Seth Trimble in that game with 26 points to lead the Tar Heels. So, I mean, both those teams are 9-5 in the ACC conference. So that is a game that's going to put North Carolina above Louisville in the standings, unless the Cardinals have a comeback in them in the next 2:26 left in the second half. The one coming up right now at 8 o'clock, you have number 14 Kansas, 20-7 overall, 10-4 in Big 12 play, and you have number 5 Houston, who is 23-4 and 11-3 in Big 12 play. This one's interesting because Houston's coming off back-to-back losses for the first time since the late 2010s. Houston, the Cougars basketball program, over time, you haven't really seen them falter and lose back-to-back games. You've seen them maybe go like 30-3 or 30-4 overall in the season and secure a 1 or a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. And then they never really lose back-to-back games. First time since the 2010s, they've lost back-to-back games. And then you have Kansas, a team who, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, they were almost outside the top 25, and they beat TCU in overtime. And then they've beaten teams ranked. They play some really good Monday night games. While I'm here, we've had some pretty good Monday night games over the airwaves. And Kansas coming off probably their worst loss of the season, losing to Cincinnati. Probably the most notable loss on their schedule. And they have that Darren Peterson saga going on. Darren Peterson, there's a clip when they played Oklahoma State the other night where he kind of subbed himself out of the game. Obviously, there's two sides to his story, and that's one of them. He's obviously going to be a top pick in the NBA draft at this point. A really talented player, but there's a lot of question marks, and you're going to need him to step up and play big minutes. Kansas, number 14 right now, losing to Cincinnati. And Cincinnati's, not a bad team, not a great team either, but to lose that in Allen Fieldhouse, you haven't really seen a Kansas team lose like that at home. And Cincinnati got the win in that one. The Bearcats get the win. It's interesting storyline for both teams because Kansas, the team is coming off that kind of loss. Then Houston's the team who's coming off back-to-back losses under Kelvin Sampson for the first time in forever. Feels like a team that was almost untouchable at times, and we're able to just suffocate teams because that's how Houston basketball plays for the Cougars. So that one's coming up 8 o'clock between the Jayhawks and the Cougars. So that is all I have for Ticket Weeknights to fill this hour. Thank you all for joining in, but stick with us. Beyond the Lanes, Haley and Desiree. The rest of the night, we have Haley and Desiree Beyond the Lanes coming up here from 8 to 9. Raf's going to take on sports from 9 to 10. Don't Punt Hour with DeMornay Pearsonell from 10 to 11. And then Late Night Lincoln with myself from 11 to midnight. So a lot of different things come up. We'll talk a lot about the Big Red Invite, which will be the number one topic for these bowlers, as they just wrapped it up less than 24 hours ago over at Hollywood Bowl. So we'll let them in here. They'll be in here for the next hour. If you have any questions for Desiree and Haley, that'll be at 402-464-5685. That is 402-464-5685. We'll be right back here on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.